Hey everyone, Lucas is here with Solid State Logic in Harrison, this time looking at the new Compressor Bundle on offer in the SSL web store, bringing together SSL's HF Comp and LMC Plus alongside Harrison's 32-bus and multi-band compressors, all for only $49.99 for a limited time. So, from SSL, we've got the HF Comp, modelled on the high-frequency compressor module in the Fusion Rack processor. Great for taming the harsh top end of a mix, but also great for rejuvenating high-frequency transient material by smoothing out the peaks, then bringing back the level with the auto gain to add smooth shimmer and air back into the mix. It's one of my favourite plugins and I can't wait for you guys to try it out in your sessions. Next then, we've got the LMC Plus, modelled after the 4000E console's Listen mic compressor, famously used for that 80s drum sound, but now available with stereo processing, high and low band filters, and scoop and split options for creative compression response, allowing you to smash everything. But as well as that, it's excellent at bringing out subtle details in a dense mix and adding character to reverb tails or delay repeats, more of which I'm going to show you later. Then, from Harrison, we've got the 32-bus, emulating the bus processing from Harrison's Mixbus 32C DAW, where you can add tape saturation, compression, EQ and limiting to all of your bus tracks, giving them all the warmth, punch and clarity you need. It's a wonderful alternative to the SSL bus comp that we all love, but if you want to try something a little bit different, then definitely check out the 32-bus. The saturation alone is worth it for me, but the rest of the plugin is so useful you'll treat it like a bus channel strip, reducing the need to stack saturation, EQ, compression and limiting, and using all of this in one plugin to cover all your bases. Trust me, you're going to love it. And then finally, to round off the package, we've got Harrison's multi-band compressor, where we can use this to control the dynamics of specific frequency ranges, which can be incredibly useful for improving the clarity and punch of a track. Or we can use this to creatively compress using a sidechain to perform complex cross compression, ideal for creating separation in a mix or simply allowing you to tame problematic frequency ranges without wrecking your instrument's character. So these 4 plugins are available right now as a bundle deal for only $49.99. So those of you wanting to expand your sonic palette, then here are 4 unique compressors that are great at bringing something different to the mix. It will certainly help you explore new sounds and techniques that you may not have thought of before. So I'm not going to go into super detail with the usual GUI overviews as there's so much to look at today. So definitely go and check out the online manuals for each plugin to get a deeper understanding of each compressor's individual controls. But instead, what we're going to do is walk through a mix that I've got here, where I'll show you how I'm using each compressor in my session, using each to perform unique compression techniques to bring out all the life and detail in this track. Let's go. Cool, so we're now in the mix and I've got a track called Lock Off by Levan, and let's first have a listen to the track with all of these compressors working in their own ways to get to the finished sound. Once we've done that, I'll walk you through the processes I've made to get to this point. So let's hit the drop. So how did we get there? Now, the most important thing for working in electronic music and house music in general is the groove. And that's going to come from the interplay between the kick and the bass. So let's first off look at how I've used the multiband compressor to control the way my bass and my kick are working. So let's listen to the kick first. I've got 3 different kick samples stacked on top of each other, a slight bit of EQ just to pull out a bit of 500 Hertz, but then they're all feeding the multiband compressor. Now we've got 4 bands to control, but I'm only using 3 here. And we've got our fixed, well, our control of our attack, release and the knee and makeup that control all of the bands. But the bands can be controlled differently by the amount of threshold we're setting. And I've got 3 bands affecting the subs, the main sort of transient, the first harmonic, and then we've got the sort of the mid-range material of the kick, the saturation. And let's listen to the kick before I do any processing so you can hear what we're working with. All right, let's kick in. You can hear we're bringing out the punch of the kick because we're controlling the subs, but we're allowing the main harmonic, the main transients to push through. We're compressing that area less, and then we're compressing the body, sort of the upper sort of area around 500 hertz, a little bit less than the subs, but more than the main transient. So we're getting like a bounce to the kick sound, and it's elongating and holding a little bit more of the body of the kick. Now that's really bringing that forward. So let's have a listen to how that works in the context of the rest of the drums. Again, I'm going to turn the multiband compressor on and off so you can hear the difference. And let's bring the bass in so you can hear how that's working as well. We're just getting a little bit more of the groove of the kick pushing through. We're not getting the masking between the kick and the bass so much, just because we're controlling those really sub lows that we want more of the bass resonance to come through on the bass channel, less of the kick. So that's just really allowing us to control certain frequencies that are less desirable, but we don't want to lose completely by carving them out with the EQ. We've also, in this mix, got the multiband doing the sidechain trick on the bass. So being fed from bus 1, which I've got my kicks being sent to, I'm engaging the external sidechain and just allowing the kick signal to duck the fundamental of the kick in the bass channel, just to give a little bit more space for that kick to punch through. But because we're only activating that on the very low transient material of the kick on the bass channel, we're not losing the body of the bass, so it doesn't get the ducking and pumping effect that you often find with sidechaining. So that gives us all the weight of the sub bass, all of the weight of the mid-range bass, but just carving out that space for the kick drum, like this. If I bypass, just allows that kick to push a bit more in the mix and just really push through the bass and allows them to groove together. So that's how I'm using the multiband compressor within my drum channels, but I've also got some other things going on. So let's have a listen again to the drums. I've got a channel here that is a composition of the toms and the cymbals together. Now, this is the way the tracks were sent to me, and what I would normally do is start to chop up the samples out and allow me to mix them differently. But I'm going to take a different approach this time, and using the LMC, I'm going to squash elements that are too loud, and I'm going to bring out the detail of elements that are too quiet. So for those of you who don't know the Listen Mic compressor, this is based on the 4000E console Listen Mic that gave us that famous 80s tom, that drum sound. You know what I'm talking about. It's acting in such a way that the very quietest elements of the track we're compressing are brought right up to the forefront, almost like a normalization tool, but with a little bit more finesse, a little bit more control. So let's have a listen to my percussion tracks and some cymbals, and you're going to hear there's a difference in the levels. That's what we want to try and bring out in the mix. So. The levels are all over the place. Let's bring LMC in. It's allowing us to get the sustain and the ring out of those tom tracks. Controls the level of the cymbals, so we're not getting a big sort of high frequency burst in our ears. And that's going to bring that out in the mix. Let's have a listen to that in the context of the rest of the drums. And we'll turn LMC off and then see the difference and turn it back on again. So let's start with this. That's allowed us to bring all that lovely tom resonance back in, and sort of, yeah, the reverb tails that have been baked into those tracks as well. It just feels a little bit more alive. But what we might find is now the cymbals are a little bit harsher. So what I've got here is I've stacked the high frequency compressor modeled on the Fusion channel, And this is going to allow us just to compress the frequencies in the top end, so just the cymbals. So we can use the LMC to bring out the tom resonance, we can use the HF compressor to bring out the cymbals without bringing all the horrible, nasty artifacts, but smoothing those off. So I've set my threshold here and the crossover, so we're only affecting stuff over 7.2 kilohertz, and I've got the mix set to completely wet, but we can parallel compress that if we wanted to. Listen to now how the cymbals are reacting with the toms with the HF compressor built in. So we're not affecting the toms, so the cymbals are now controlled, and that's a really, really elegant way just to quickly get those levels working right in the mix without having to do major surgery and cutting the cymbals out or repatching the toms and resampling them. So that's a really nice, easy win. I've also got the high frequency compressor working on the snare tracks and the hi-hats just to smooth those off as well. So that's using those three. But on the drum bus in general, I've got the 32 bus. And like we discussed earlier, the 32 bus is like a bus compressor channel strip. And that's given me loads of extra control. So I've got the tape saturation control, the compressor, an EQ just to sort of rebalance the mix, and then a limiter just to control the overall levels. So let's have a listen to the drums, and we're going to keep the Harrison Bus 32 in, and I'll take it out and you'll hear the difference what this is doing. Instantly, we've got a little bit more hype, the saturation is just driving a little bit more texture in the upper mids, but it's smoothing off the top end, and then I can rebalance that with the EQ. So we've done all this high frequency compression work to make sure the cymbals and the snare and the hi-hats aren't overly spitty in the top. Then the saturation on the channel strip is just making that nice and round. Then I can just boost that just with a little bit of a shelf on the EQ, and it rebalances, and we've got the air right back in the drum bus, while still getting that knock, and the attack of the kick is still coming through with the side chain on the high pass, on the compressor, and then the limiter's just really tightening that in and making that really exciting. So 32 bus, excellent tool for stacking 5 different elements together without having to stack 5 different plugins. So we're not having all the CPU issues. We've got all the visualization of all the tools right in front of us, so I can quickly balance how I want that to sound. So that's a really nice way of using that. But I've also got the 32 bus on the master, and I think we should have a listen to the entire track with that on and off, because this is where it really shines as well. So let's go back over to the drop, and we'll keep the bus in, have a listen, turn it off, and then you'll hear the difference. So it's, I mean, I've very much set an aggressive sound on that overall tone of the plugin, because yeah, you can see the limiter was acting upon it quite heavily, but it's given us a real punch and a real energy back into the track. And that's really nice, especially in sort of the genre like this. We need those kicks to push through, we need the cymbals to cut through in a potentially muddy mix. That is allowing all of those elements to be bright and clear, and the saturation is just giving us a little bit extra mojo going on. So that's such a nice use case for the Harrison 32 bus just on the master. Now last off I want to show you is the delay returns and reverb returns. So I've got all my effects sort of sends printed here, and I'm using the LMC and the MC, the multi-band compressor, together just to sidechain and give us a little bit more control in our effects. So here you're going to see the vocal sample is sending off to the delay. Side chaining the delay is the multiband, allowing us to duck the signal from the vocal channel into the delay, and the LMC is bringing all the detail back in. So we're getting a wetter effect, but a clearer source, so they're not overlapping. So I'm using these two plugins to give me all of that gooey delay goodness that I want in the track, bring all the really fine details out of that, but I'm moving it out of the way of the main vocal because I can duck it just on the band where the vocal is most prominent, but I'm not doing a full sidechain volume change. I'm just frequency dependently controlling that. So let's have a listen to that. You see that energy here just being pulled out of the delay channels. And then we get the bloom of the effect in after that. And that's a really nice sort of use case for just stacking those two as well. So we've had a look at our 4 different compressors in the bundle here. All of these are available all together for $49.99 right now. And if you're an SSL Complete subscriber or an All Access subscriber, these are available in your SSL Downloads Manager. So definitely jump on this, have a play, stick them all over your tracks. I want to hear what you think of them in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, please check out some more of our content on our YouTube page and on social media. I've been Aziz. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I look forward to seeing you again for more plugin demonstrations, more new products, and tips and tricks. See you later.